Number 6, Brown County Commission meeting to order. Commissioner Sutton, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
First item on our agenda is the RFP for grandstand concessions for the 2019 Brown County Fair.
Go get the envelope.
Morning, Ron.
The easy thing would be if there's only one. I don't know. The easy thing would be if there's only one. Maybe we'll let out and get two. Three.
Yeah, no kidding.
They got twins 2 weeks notice. Okay.
Let me grab my tablet.
You first started shooting. Get excited. 41. How many do we get? Two. We get two.
I'm not gonna read the...
No, we got it.
The first one is Aberdeen Hockey. Minimum conditions were met, and they're proposing $85 per keg, 20 per case, and a 15% commission for $1 to 10, and a 30% commission from 10,000 and up. So food conditions are the same. Increase on the proposed keg and proposed case price. Keg price is an increase of $10 from the RFP. Per case is an increase of $5 per keg. And then from the Boys and Girls Club, minimum conditions have been met. $0 increase per keg, $0 increase per case.
What are they?
75 and 15.
75 and 15?
75 per keg and 15 per case.
Okay.
And then food percentage are the same, 15% and 30% at the 2 break points.
Over 10,000?
Over, yep, 1 to 10 is 15, and over 10,000 and 1 is 30.
Can we ask questions while reps are here? Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can we ask questions while we have reps?
I don't see any reason why. It was informational.
Do you guys foresee any issues with workforce, or do you got that kind of plan?
We have a significant workforce. If we're awarded the bid, we'll work on details surrounding it, but I think if we had to utilize volunteers other than our own, it would be significantly fewer than what the Boys and Girls Club would use, but we have approximately 250 families in the association that we use to currently run the clubhouse. So in general, I think the workforce will be easy for us to put together.
Okay.
Derek, do you have anything to add to this? One question, if awarded, how would you folks handle the clubhouse contract that is currently under?
In addition to the bid, there's some other ancillary documentation. We would want to vacate our contract in the clubhouse if we were awarded the grandstand. We have no interest in running both.
Oh, okay, that's what I was wondering.
Sorry, maybe
No,
I
that's okay.
misunderstood your question.
So you'd prefer to move to? Okay.
Yes.
Have we already approved the clubhouse one
Last year.
Yeah, that's
That
good
was
for
the option.
another year.
for this year?
The option hasn't been exercised yet for this year.
How many, do you know roughly how many kegs did we sell last year? Is it a couple hundred?
Yeah, it's, I'd have to look at the exact numbers. I'd have to look at the exact
No
numbers. I don't
problem.
have them with me. But I can get that to you guys.
Is this something we have to decide today, or can we look at those numbers and think on it and defer this, or table it a week? Do you need it?
I think we should. We need
I would
kind of
move to
review
do
it.
that.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
I have a motion by Kempley, second by Sutton to table till the next meeting, which would be December 11th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is tabled till December 11th. We'll have Derek go through the numbers and kind of give us the stats.
We'll do the comparables between the
Right.
two. And then copy these.
Thanks for taking the time to put one in.
Thank
Never,
you.
that was a lot of work.
Okay. So I'll return these things back to you on the envelopes.
You just make a copy of your number and do that where you said.
Thank you.
No.
That's
Thanks, Derek.
what you were doing it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda at 8:50, we have Roberta Nicholas, Register of Deeds, discuss personnel.
Hi.
Morning.
How are
Is
ya?
this,
Good, how are you?
Open, or do we have to go on exec for personnel?
No,
Okay.
no, I don't think it's,
Okay.
I just wanted to circle back with you on the Logan Gower situation. We had discovered after we'd taken him on in our office that we couldn't pay wages out of our M&P fund. But I had room in my budget to keep him on through the end of the year, and I had told you all that I would look for other options for 2019. And I have found one of those options. Kurt Ryder, he is with Microfilm Imaging Systems Incorporated, and he currently does work not with my office, but with the auditor's office, and he does work with other counties, Davidson, Minnehaha, where he actually employs people who do the imaging like we're having Logan do, where he's converting the paper images to digital images for us. So Logan would be Kurt's employee, and we would pay Kurt's company out of the M&P fund so that Logan can continue to do this scanning for us to get all these documents digitized.
This don't seem like experience work, Gary.
No, this is a little different than that, but
Experience Works is with the elderly community.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if it's a different level of it.
Well, no, it's a,
Completely
Experience
different?
Works is partially funded by the state. Kurt's a private company, and his business is imaging documents.
Okay.
So, he has done this with, like I said, with other counties like Minnehaha. He currently has 2 people working in Minnehaha County for him, actually 2.5. They have a part-time deputy, and she works for the county 20 hours a week, and then she works for Kurt the other 20 hours, but she's still in the Register of Deeds office. During those 20 hours she works for Kurt, though, she has to only do the imaging thing. She can only do what qualifies as modernization and preservation.
Does that change his position as far as title or anything like that, then if he's actually, is he considered an employee of them then rather than the county?
Correct. We would terminate his employment with us effective December 29th, which is the end, or December 29th, which is the end of a pay period. And then December 30th, he would become an employee of Microfilm Imaging, and he would continue to work for us just as he does today, but he would not be an employee of the county. He would be an employee of Microfilm
So what,
Imaging.
does he have a title at this point in time?
His I don't know, part-time clerk, I don't,
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we've had to keep him under the 19.5 hour. He has no benefits, he's never had any benefits with the county. I have met with his mother, And with Kurt, we had a meeting last week when Kurt was in town, and she is in complete agreement with this arrangement. If, you know, if you all are in complete agreement, she said they take care, his parents take care of all of his insurance and everything. They always have, and they will continue to.
And that's all fine with the MP fund as far as changing that. All, it looks to me like all it is formality to get things changed over to somebody else.
It's a complete formality, and why they wrote the statute the way they did, I don't know. But this is what the other counties have done in order to get their documents digitized.
So it's kind of like professional service versus paying a salary.
Correct.
Do we need a motion for that, or do we just need approval, or I'd entertain a motion?
Do you have a contract with Kurt?
I don't yet, because I wanted to, you know, make sure that we were all good going forward, but he was going to get the paperwork out to Logan's mom, and then when he got that back, and I let him know that, you know, I had gotten approval, then he'll send us a contract.
Be nice to have the state's attorney review that contract before we
Okay.
approve it.
Sure. Okay.
Move forward and...
I'll just put forward concurred upon review of contract.
Okay. And when I get that contract, I will get it over to Chris to have a look at it.
Good.
Sounds good, thank
Sounds
you.
like a solution.
All right. Can I ask one quick question?
Yeah.
Where are we at with wage work? 'Cause
I know, last I heard last week that Andrea was supposed to be submitting that, so, and she's gone this week, but
okay.
I'll verify.
Well, as of this morning, nothing. It's been over 5 weeks since I first discussed it with Patty. It's been over 3 weeks since our department head meeting, and it's just frustrating, you know? If we can't get it figured out, can I switch my contribution?
You can lower your contribution at one time, I know, but...
They tell me I can only do it during open enrollment, which is in June.
Let me check, verify. Okay.
Hopefully we'll get an answer for you.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks, Roberta.
Before the next topic, I would request executive session for proposed or pending litigation.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Kempley, to go into exec. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are in
Is it on?
exec.
Is it on?
Morning.
Morning.
Morning, Kevin.
Morning.
Morning, Ryan.
Morning.
Yeah.
Mr. back.
We are out of exec, no action as a result. Next item on the agenda, we have Kevin Fiedler and Ryan Cephas discussing plat variance.
Good morning. Thank you for having us this
Come on
morning.
up if you want.
Sit front chair.
Just in the process of building a new home and also trying to purchase a piece of property from Quest Development east on Highway 15th off of Roosevelt. Part of the Quest Development just a little bit east of there. There is an approach right now on Waterview Lane, so I would just be east of that 327 feet, I believe. And I guess Brian was part of the city meeting and we got our approvals there. And we did get a call saying that it was denied by the county, so I guess we're just here checking to see if this could be approved, so I could build a home on that piece of ground. I gave you each a couple of exhibits that shows where the home would be built and also where the approach would need to go in to have access to the new residents.
What is the approach right by the creek used for now? Is that used by,
This one way to
The-
the
the
east,
low one.
Rachel?
Yep.
I believe Kevin says that's just used for his farmers or ranchers to hay it.
It's not used for anything. I mean, it's there, but it doesn't go into
Yeah.
anything.
I think they drive their equipment in there to, does that get hayed or does the easement thing?
It all depends on how high the water is.
but it has been hayed?
There's no
That
fells.
low, I'm not sure, I don't have up higher yet.
That approach is right across from, there's a residential approach going to the north, correct? That's the one you're talking
Yep,
about?
right,
That's
so it's at the
across.
half mile?
Right.
That one there, Rachel's a really, really low approach.
Yeah.
It's just up off the ground, maybe a foot and a half is all.
Dips.
Yeah, it really dips down, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Good deer run.
Yeah. I drove by, that's really low. Do you get a whole bunch of dirt in, or? Yes, the portion right there, Tom, is out of the floodplain according to... It is out, huh? Yeah, for the 1.76 acres. We did have to go to the city to have the 322 feet approved because it needed to be 500 feet. The problem with 500 feet, folks, was we're starting to get down in the floodplain, so it would be nice to have the approach straight across from the new residence or the new home. No other access for the other development, would just be my family to using the approach for access to the home. And
It's 322 feet from the Waterview Drive. It's 577 feet from that low approach right down by where the Moxon Creek is at.
To give you a little background on how we got here is, I actually have never seen any documentation from the city. Quest and had communication with Kevin Weisbeck prior to starting down this path. And I indicated to him at the time that approach, or the proposed approach location on the lot, is too close to River Drive. Is that what that one's called, River Drive?
Waterview.
Waterview, I'm sorry. And so eventually Ken Hubbard from the city contacted me, and the process here isn't what I'm dwelling on, because the communication with me, I responded and rejected the approach on, or did not recommend approval of the approach based on the compromised distance between the other one. There's room to do it on the lot. They've just said they're going to be filling anyway, so the additional amount of fill to put it into this, to move it, say, 100 feet and split the difference. It's 980 feet from, what the hell's the name of that road? The development road, the Riverview or whatever.
Waterview.
From that over to the approach that you guys are talking about that enters into that next parcel to the east. The next parcel to the east, and I'm not sure if it's going to get cleaned up, but it's currently part of what will be a wetland bank in there. That's been going on since 2008 with the city and the Corps of Engineers, or excuse me, the state and the Corps of Engineers. That's been going on again, off again, on again, but it's still, as we sit here today, it's still a viable possibility.
Where are you talking, right here?
That's what that other approach goes into that you're talking
Okay,
about.
gotcha.
And I don't expect, whether it's hayed, whether it's the wetland bank or whatever, it's not going to be a high-use approach anyway, you know. But the distance, 980 feet from where this one is we're talking about, that's just west of the pipe, up to the development approach. So I'd be comfortable splitting that distance and putting it in the middle.
So show me on here where you would put that.
Halfway between that approach
Mm-hmm.
and that approach.
So we're really still on their property.
Yeah, it'll be in our property.
So you'd want to move over...
You just move it over about
About
80?
100 feet
About
east,
100 feet.
and I'm fine with it.
Do you see that, Kevin? Go.
Now, in their defense, I haven't had this conversation with these guys, so I don't know how they'll respond to that, but that's my spot on it.
Can you show him where you're seeing?
Just move it 100 feet to the
Move it
east
100
is all
east.
I'm talking about, and it's,
Because either way, you're not gonna get the 500.
no, but
full,
you can get
so
it to
would
480.
split
And actually, the only approach that you're gonna have to worry about any type of volume on is the one coming out of the development. I mean, I agree with Kevin, it's when it's just a single residence at one spot. The other thing is, this is currently a 55-mile-an-hour road.
But
And
it'll
it's a-
stay that way
and
till
it's a
the
rural-
city gets it.
And it's a rural, this is one I'll agree with you on,
I
Nancy.
know.
Normally, I'm against it. It's a rural section of the road where we've got open ditches, and it's a 55-mile-an-hour road. And I'm not questioning the city's authority, that's a battle for you guys as far as the zoning part of it. But I question their knowledge on dealing with a 55-mile-an-hour rural section road with multiple approaches, you know. I see that Mr. Fikert just walked in, who lives on the Richmond Road along with Dwayne. There's 61 approaches on the Richmond Road from the Foot Creek Bridge to 281. There's 61 of them, and part of that's in the city's 3-mile limit. So I don't want to keep perpetuating compromising this and creating all extra, more and more points of access along the county roads than we need. This might seem like an innocuous thing, but I'm tired of it. I send this to the city all the time. They treat our recommendations like mere caricatures of actual recommendations, and we're going to put approaches on here, and in about a year we're going to have a cavalcade of mad mothers coming in here and calling us baby killers because we won't lower the speed limit. And it's just the natural progression of it. And I'll let you a little preview, we're going to have the same thing come up as soon as we start talking about Dakota Street because the happy approaches are too close together. And we're going to replicate this discussion. So, I'm tired, that's my deal. I want it moved 100 feet to the east and then I'll leave everybody alone.
How's that look, Brian? You're this, when this designing there, how does the 100 feet look on here?
We'd have to go back and redesign for sewer, water, and everything else that hasn't been done at this point. Bring Clark Engineering back into it to re-engineer everything.
But it hasn't been in place yet.
No, because we got the city approval that we're fine where we're at.
Well, city will approve it, right, Ron?
Knowing that's a county road, why is the county never given a heads up on these things?
Are you looking at me?
Anyone?
I'm not part of that, so.
I'm just trying to...
All right.
Yeah, you're just the purchaser, right?
Go, Rich.
I'm looking
So,
for...
Rachel,
They have to be the city of the designer.
If I can help explain this a little bit, and again, I understand that it gets a little complicated talking about some of these histories because we're not really clear as to how things come to be, but the variance request for an approach like this is part of a zoning board determination. The county, through its ordinances, has deferred in the 3-mile jurisdiction to the city zoning board. I mean, these kinds of requests come to the county as zoning board variance requests, even outside in the rest of the county. So this came to the county. Dirk's recommendation was part of the packet that the county, or I'm sorry, that the city zoning board had in front of them. I think Kevin's representatives were there. A lot of this information was shared. The members of the city zoning board did what they do on all these requests. They considered everything and made their decision in this instance to give to grant the variance. You're asked, why is the county not consulted? The county was. Dirk was consulted and was given an opportunity to make his recommendation. Now,
From Quest. He never got anything from the city until after the fact.
Well, that's not after the fact. If I would have, the day that Ken Hubbard contacted me, I said, I already have the packet from Quest, you don't need to resend it to me. But when, like when you asked me for my documents, all I have is that email response back to him and then the packet that I got from Quest about it.
So just so you're clear, Dirk's recommendation to deny the variance approach was in the packet that the zoning board had, as was the city administration's recommendation to deny the variance. We're both relying on an ordinance, and by the way, the city and county zoning ordinances are identical almost with respect to this 500-foot approach requirement in the ag and mini-ag areas. So both administrations' recommendations to denial were in the packet and were considered by the city zoning board as it made its decision. So once they took all that, they granted it, given the information that Kevin just shared, they granted the variance, and the posture at that point was to have the plat signed by the highway authority. And that's why Kevin is here today, because apparently there was a instruction made not to sign the plat, or Dirk himself decided he wasn't going to sign the plat.
So if I signed the plat, I'd be lying.
Okay. And here, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this, because it does get really hard. And I apologize in a way as a lawyer for how complicated all this stuff is. But your own zoning ordinance in jurisdiction says that your zoning laws don't apply, and you're deferring to the city in that 3-mile jurisdiction.
And I think that's the way Ron reads it. He's right, it doesn't defer to the city. It just says our zoning ordinance don't apply. It doesn't say, and we're deferring to the city.
And the zoning ordinance that Dirk is relying on is the 500-foot separation is a zoning ordinance that he's relying on. Correct, Dirk?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, I think the only apology needs to go to you folks, because the system right now is broken. It shouldn't be about this one approach. It should be a bigger conversation of why. You would think if we had relinquished jurisdiction, there would be a resolution of some sort out there, and maybe there is. I would like to see that, because then we're fine. But if we haven't, I get more complaints about this 3-mile zone than anything else besides the roads. And we need to have a solution to this that's bigger.
That's something that you folks need to decide in this building, in this room here, whether you're going to have a resolution and do that. All I know
So there isn't right now.
I don't know.
I don't think there is.
All I know is that there's an ordinance that says that these kinds of matters go in front of the city zoning board. And the city zoning board did their job. Good people on the board. There's a member of the zoning board who's actually in the 3-mile jurisdiction. So I mean, there was nothing arbitrary about that or malicious about their variance grant.
There's a city ordinance that says it goes to the city board.
Yes, and that's our process.
And also to be fair, there's also a city ordinance that says the county has jurisdiction unless it's been relinquished by a vote of the members, which hasn't happened.
Okay.
So there's arguments on both sides,
Yeah.
because that's a city ordinance.
But what I'm wanting to make clear here is that if there's any frustration, don't direct it at the city. The city is just doing what we're supposed to do. So.
And the county isn't?
No.
I was just wondering what you were implying by that remark.
We are told, the zoning board is told that they're to decide these issues. They decided these issues. The city itself, the city administration itself, concurred with Dirk's recommendation. But the zoning board has the authority to grant a variance, and they did. And they do on they grant variances on lots of other things. And the county is consulted on all those. So
this particular one came up and had to get approval by Dirk because state law requires it.
Are there plans to put sidewalks there, or is that now that the city has annexed that whole, or do these guys not do that? Do you know, do they do that at what point? Because my fear is these approaches go in and the speed limit is going to be next, and then it's going to be one thing to the next.
And if this, and I understand if this is gravitating towards another conversation about, who should take over the road, I understand that. This probably isn't the time for that, but I can tell you that within the city limits, we do have an ordinance that says in new construction you have to have a sidewalk within 12 months of residential construction. So is it possible that there will be a requirement for a sidewalk in there? It might be. If it doesn't make sense because of the nature of that country road, Kevin could come and probably request some change to that too.
Something like North Dakota.
I don't know. I just don't know. But that will be the same issue on North Dakota. But I can tell you that new residential construction has to have a sidewalk within 12 months of construction.
How long would it take, Kevin, when are you thinking about building the approach? Do you have a time frame?
We were hoping to get it in yet this fall or this winter, probably first thing in the spring or as as soon as the weather cooperates enough where we can bring in some dirt.
We try and do it this fall to start letting everything set up. Well, fall, I guess we're in winter, but
Winter, yeah.
to try and do it that way. Now, to go back to saying, we'll move it 100 feet. What we run into a problem, and Dirk already said, is you got a wetland easement. We've already been dealing with the state of how you transfer property, of moving this over here and all that type of stuff. And that's where everything was reapplied through Clark Engineering. Because as simply as moving it 100 feet, okay, but we've already spent time with the state and everything else of this wetland easement, whether it does or does not go through. They've been talking about it with Lonnie Anderson, because it's the whole area along there going through that way. So it's already been replotted through Clark Engineering, through the state, through everything else, accepted through the state and I forgot what it is. I'd have to go back and look at it. It was 0.3 acres and all this type of stuff and how it all works going through that way.
That's why I'd like to see where it would fall on there. I just cannot visualize where that extra 100 feet would be on.
It's where the old property line was before this piece was replatted. This lot was made out of the backyards of 3 other lots originally. If you can see where that
That's
grass
what I'm
line
thinking,
in there,
right
that's
around there.
about where the approach would be.
Yeah.
And I asked Kevin that because I'm thinking it's a simple process to annex it into the city. And if the city wants the authority on it, and the problem that the county's going to run into is it's a county road, and it's set at 55, and we're responsible for it. But if the city wants it, I think you can annex it in fairly quickly, and you can build your approach and right where you want it then, because then the county has no authority on it.
That would be quick.
That'd be the best solution, that's for
We'll
sure.
put a big bow on it too.
There's a huge taxable implication if it's not done before the end of the year.
Even better, I'll be a Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to make a comment. Now they're talking about they have to go back to the engineers and redesign everything just for that approach. The actual state codified law requires the owner to get permission or written permission for access before the plat would even be started. So, kind of got the cart before the horse here. The access should have been taken care of before they got to that point. Well, to be clear, I mean, that's the whole point. They did move forward with the variance request, they did get the access granted, and then they submitted their plat. And it was at that point that the highway authority refused to sign that portion of the plat.
At which point you were going to sign it with the change of language, correct?
I would sign it possibly with the change of language, or if 3 out of 5 of these guys tell me that I approve the approach, then I'll approve the approach as well. Those are 2 ways of doing it. You can change if there's some language that's acceptable to Roberta.
Because that was checked between Don Weigel, yourself, and
Correct.
Roberta. And then, so that's where it went out to get re-signed again, and that's when it was denied.
We only tried signing it one time, and I denied it because it says I approve it. And despite Ron's comments, I can't hardly believe I'd find an attorney that would tell me to purposely lie on a document that's going to be filed at the courthouse. So I don't care how we get there, but I don't approve of the approach, and if it's just completely impossible that we can move it, if, like I said, 3 out of 5 of these guys can tell me I approve it, that changes the guy's mind. Or change the language to something that's acceptable. I like Chris has the best idea I've heard so far, is have the city take the road over, and then you can paint it pink and put up fences and sidewalks and whatever you want.
When you're saying change the language, Dirk, you're not saying change the 330 feet, but change the fact that you're signing off as approving it.
Well, my fundamental problem is I have a document that says I approve of something that I don't approve of.
So when you say change the language, you're talking about that?
Right. If there's a language that will still...
That approval says that you're approving existing. Anything in the future would have to go through proper authorities for approval. That's how the plats work.
I see.
So whatever's existing out there is what you're approving by signing that now.
Okay.
And then anything that is going to be changed or approved or expanded or something like that in the future, they have to go through proper authorities.
See, that's what I was thinking about this morning. If the way all the city's got to do now, so take notes, is plat it and don't be completely forthright about where your access is going to be, and then come back through and ask for the approach permit, because then you don't get hung up and waiting for me to sign the plat. Then it's just the city just overruns us on the approach location, and then we don't have a mechanism to stop it at that point.
Unless
Unless
everybody
it goes
agrees
through
with jurisdiction.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's what I would do if I lived in the 3-mile limit. I'd plat it and then go back and move my approach later and apply then, because then the county's completely doesn't. I mean, if they were to already have this platted and just coming in to ask to put in an approach, there's nothing we can do to stop them. And the only thing that we got on this situation is it's tied to the plat.
There is still something you could do to stop them, because it's a county road.
Right, no, I realize that. I'm just saying this particular mechanism, or the concern about whether or not I'll sign the plat.
I just don't want them
which
to
will
take
go
this recording and cross-examine you in litigation.
That's fine. I know.
And let me make a clarification here too. Under our zoning board procedure, that's the final decider. If somebody doesn't like the decision of the zoning board, the city zoning board, then they can appeal to a circuit court. In the county, if somebody doesn't like the decision of the county zoning board, then they can appeal to you. That is a big distinction. And again, this setting that we have right here, I'm not sure what this is. We were here, they're asking that you authorize Dirk or direct Dirk to sign the plat, so that we can go forward, that they can go forward with that process and complete it and start with their project. That's my understanding of what it is that they want you folks to do here today. And I'm just telling you that they don't want to appeal because they're fine with the decision of the zoning board. There's really nothing for them to be doing at this point.
Well, just to be clear, I had some phone calls and talked to people, and I was totally in the dark, I had no knowledge of what was going on out there. So, my point to the city is, it'd be nice to have some kind of a heads up. I understand Dirk probably got the information, and Dirk made the call that state statute says he has the call. But myself, as a commission, I had no knowledge of what was going on through this thing. So there's got to be some kind of communication between the city and the county, as far as I'm concerned.
And I think the best way to have that communication is if the county is going to have a joint board, then the joint board meets with the city's joint board. If that's the decision, but that decision needs to be made sooner rather than later.
And I know that discussion goes beyond what you guys are here asking today, but it is an important piece, because like you said, there's going to be bigger conversations in the next year of some of these developments, and I guess I would, for one, would think we need to look at that and go that route. I don't know what you guys think.
I won't be here. But I agree, this has always been an issue, it's just been compounding through the years. And I really think part of this is the city, when they do their annexing, whether it's voluntary or not, has to be considering the roads, the sidewalks, and the infrastructure as part of it. They just can't take the property. And where Kevin's right in the middle of this whole mess right now, of this big conversation, and all he wants to do is build a home.
That was going to be my next question, is going, we did everything that we were supposed to do as from Prairie's Edge Development to Quest Development to Kevin. And then now we're saying, well, we're at 322, well, let's move it over 100 feet and then we'll be fine with it. The approach is still there. We've already gone through it, like I say, is with the water easement, everything else has gone through that way. We did everything that we were supposed to. Meaning through Clark Engineering, not just a hand drawing, everything else platted after the approval was given through the city and everything else. That's, I mean, I'm trying to figure out what we did wrong.
I don't think you did anything wrong. I think the problem lies in the uncertainty of who ultimately has responsibility. And under South Dakota codified law, there seems to be some gray area as to exactly who does have jurisdiction. So I think we as a commission need to consult with our legal team and probably get the city involved so that we can determine, do we need a joint city-county planning board, zoning board, so that we have a say in these matters, and ultimately, instead of the city making the ultimate decision, the county has a decision-making ability in that process too. Because I think we need to, a lot of this just got sprung on us in the last week. So I think we need to study this a little bit and figure out what the long-term ramifications of improving this particular approach is. Because it's already been stated, we're going to be dealing with this in the next year or two as these other developments over here to the north get up and running.
especially in something we could be liable for.
Absolutely.
I do want to
City
comment.
took the road, we'd be, okay.
Referring to Ryan's comment about they didn't do anything wrong, and no, you didn't do anything wrong. But had you set out, you know, my experience when people develop stuff is they're gonna maximize, and I get it, that's what you're doing, you're trying to make some money, right? And you're gonna maximize your land use. So they're gonna create their lots as small, as socio-economically that you can sell them, that people are not, they're still, you know, they're as small as you can get, so you can sell the most lots, but they're still big enough that people want the lot. And then after you do that, then you get the code out, where we're gonna need a variance for this, we need a variance for this, and we're gonna need a variance for this approach, and then you start through that, or the rezoning, or whatever else you're doing. So my only comment, and I'm not something you do wrong, but if you came at it from the other direction, boy, it sure seems to me that your stuff would just sail right through, because you wouldn't need any special exceptions or variances or anything for them. So that's my only comment in general to developers. They're not always motivated the same way that say I'm going to be motivated to try to protect the county's interests, where the developer's coming at it from a completely different angle. And there's nothing wrong with any of it. But that's just to follow up on your comment. Nobody did anything wrong, but you can do things a certain way and take out, you know, just change your priorities a little bit. And I know it costs more money. I know it'd be a goat rope to move the approach, and I know you'll have to put more dirt in there. But just back to my original comment, I just think that at some point, those things should be taken into consideration on the front end instead of build stuff and then get all the approvals you need. So, I'm done now.
For now. I know you.
Chris has to go start my legal defense.
I think so. Like I said, it'd be simple if the city had that road, then he could put the approach wherever he wanted.
I will offer this, it would be good to have those conversations with the city and the county on what to do with these in the future. Does the county wanna take up these issues in the joint jurisdiction? That's a decision you make. Does it wanna single out some of the ordinances and say, no, these will apply, and we'll use the approach ordinance as an example? But those are things that need to be resolved in the future. In the meantime, we've got people here who've done everything that they're supposed to do, and have made plans and spent money on that.
Have we had a situation like this in the past? On a county approach?
Township Road, 8th Avenue West.
What's the question? I'm sorry.
Have we had a situation like this in the past?
All the time.
What's that?
This happens all the time.
Have we give it a, you signed off on them?
No, never.
Do people go ahead and do it anyway, or what happens?
I'm not sure. I was trying to think of another time when someone was platting a new piece like this, where and I can, in the last 5 years, I think this is the first time where they were replatting it, and my approach got denied. My recommendation got. Now, there is one recently out on Richmond Road out by you guys, Dion Dargis, applied for one through the city. I did not recommend it, and now Dion just drives through the ditch. But at any rate, that one was where the city did follow my recommendation. I gotta dig
My
through.
question is, has there been approaches built where you didn't?
Oh, yeah.
The reason this one has come into a head like this is because the plating side filed.
There's been other times where, Tom, like I was saying, if they were just out on a county road in a 3-mile limit and just wanted an approach where I've said no, and then the city didn't follow that recommendation, and then they can just go out and put in the approach after that. We have no, that's happened. We have no mechanism of that.
I think this affects the townships as well as the
Yes,
county.
8th Avenue is a good
Absolutely.
example.
I mean, you got Aberdeen Township, you got Lincoln Township that have drug right into this whole thing. No question.
We really never cared what the townships did on their roads.
Pardon me?
We've never really cared what the townships did on their roads.
No,
If they want to build approaches 200 feet apart, we didn't care.
Yeah, but the city ordinances,
That's between them and the city then.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's why we're saying if this is a city road, they can
Right, but this is not,
Yeah.
that is a conversation too that's not gonna happen soon.
Right.
It's not gonna happen.
But it could
as
happen
quickly
soon,
as
and then
these folks would need
we'd be
it.
better off.
And
Well, I
They
think,
just set up a meeting.
Yeah,
I think it's a little late to
well, I don't know.
punish Kevin.
It wouldn't take that long to get that kind of road over, would it?
Sign the road over? No, you guys can do the resolution now and you can take it over till next Tuesday, I mean,
And then he could have approach wherever he wanted.
right?
Right.
Is that a motion?
What are the chances?
I'll make a motion.
What are the chances?
historically, as I understand, Dwayne, when the road is bounded on both sides by, within the city limits, then the city takes those over. Is that correct? We've got other roads, like, well, out by Central, for example. You know, that are not, those are not city roads, those are main county roads.
Because they're only bordered on one side of the city.
Right.
Well, see, but there's exceptions to that too. Butler Machinery and whatever Dave Schumacher,
Yep.
that's another one.
No,
And the city went, on that one, they specifically annexed the property and did not annex the right of way on that one.
And that was part of a TIF development, I think they needed to do that to.
Well, that
underwrite
and
some of
it
that,
keeps
yeah.
the county having to take care of the road.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we're gonna have the same thing on North Dakota Street where there's about 60% of it, that's been annexed,
Yeah.
so.
Well, that's a conversation to have, but I don't think you want to shoehorn it and use this as the get done now reason for it.
No, I agree with, I agree with that statement. We don't wanna, we're not gonna solve it all today.
I can still keep driving vehicles.
You can drive 55 in there, Nancy.
Or whatever, yeah.
So you're requesting 322 approach, Dirk, you're saying 400 and...
Whatever the halfway point is, it's like 485 or 490.
Is there something in between that makes it work for you without doing all the replanning and water and, I mean, 60, 80 feet further, 399 or 400 feet versus
I'm
4?
I'm sorry, Doug, I keep interrupting you. That's not gonna matter. I would, if we're not gonna move it 100 feet, then, 50 feet's not gonna matter.
And my biggest thing is this wetland easement, that all of a sudden you move it 80 feet, you're gonna have a wetland easement, and I don't know how that would work. Come in between two pieces of property that's gonna be 80 feet wide, going up to County Road 15, back around, and all that type of stuff.
Can you show me where the wetland is on here?
Roughly.
I just like to have an idea, I mean, how close, we keep talking about it, and I just,
This
If
line
you give
here
me what
may
you
be
got,
It's
wetland.
right here, Ryan, just about,
Yeah.
that's where it
you
starts
need your
going.
glasses on there, hanging on there.
So not too far off the 1.76 acres,
This is,
wherever that line is to the,
This is,
To that
that's the
shaded
wetland,
area.
the yellow?
yeah.
So it's almost has to be on, and this is
I
here.
think there's 3 parcels that are wetland easements that the state's looking at. That's one of them. That's not all 3 of them.
Okay.
The way it's set up, there's swapping of acres.
Okay.
We have to give some back to them, Nancy, somewhere in the state.
Can't put a big swimming pool in. Whatever, right.
Take a bus, take people out to Wiley.
Can I see that?
Yeah.
With the...
I'm just, so, to kind of meet between what Dirk's saying and what you're saying, and the utility thing is there, in order to not involve more wetland, how far over on this can we put an approach?
Not much.
Not much.
Yes.
We're talking like 50 feet or...
I don't even think you can go that much, because Clark
Okay.
Engineering has been working on this thing for, I can't even, I'd have to go back.
Have we ever made an exception for approaches because of wetland? To get
Because
it?
of wetlands.
Yeah, because we
I
couldn't
just-
put it there, that we had to put it someplace else.
Dwayne,
I
Doesn't
doubt
that
it.
look about
I mean,
halfway?
We try to stay away.
Yeah.
the border of the wetlands between the 2 approaches?
If you go to the east side of the lot,
Yeah, you have to go.
I think that border of that wetland looks like it is in the middle.
Yeah.
You go all the way to...
I just, I don't know.
I agree with Dirk, I don't think it'd make a lot of difference.
No, it won't.
It's a little bit of distance, it won't gain anything.
It's not gonna gain anything.
The problem is these guys are caught in the middle of a bad situation regarding the uncertainty.
The board approved it for them, and we've always let them, when they approved it in the past,
Then with the wetlands involved, I have a tendency to say, yeah, let's put it in. Because that's the only natural place you can put it. With what part? You really didn't design it for the convenience as much as the knowledge of where you couldn't have it, I would assume. Yeah. Wetlands, none of us, county's a special area of wetlands.
Did you guys get These are the two.
What's the purple line, Kevin, in Exhibit B?
Mike Weiss gave me that schematic, Rachel, the purple line.
Is that the city limit?
What you're looking at right there.
On one, it says city limits.
Yep, that is the city limit. That's annexed property.
Okay.
Yep, that's correct.
Thank you.
So you're being the
So
city,
your
either way
property
you're
has
being.
been annexed.
Yes.
You'd be under city rule no matter what.
Yes.
So you get city water. So, much as you.
Yep, city water and sewer, yes, that is correct, Nancy.
So I think what your options are right now are continue the discussion, get all your questions answered, table it, deal with it again if you want to, or make a motion today to vote on it if you have all the information you need so that Kevin and Ryan can go on their way and know what the answer is as far as the county highway authority signing on.
I don't know what more we're gonna learn.
At this point, we're only gonna learn we still have a mess regarding
Right.
our ordinances.
And it's between the city and the county and not Kevin and,
I'd move we approve it. It's too late to change it, I think.
and I think I'll second that.
We have a motion to approve the approach for 322 feet as designed, and a second by Hanson. Is there any other discussion?
I will be,
Oh.
I will be voting against it. It's not that, and I do think you guys are owed an apology just because of the mess we have, but my thought is this is part of a bigger picture, and that's not your fault, but we need to get some resolution to it. We've been kicking this can down the road for 6 years since I've been on the commission, and so I guess I'll be doing my best to make sure that this doesn't happen again. I think you'll have the votes to pass it anyway, so.
I do agree, something has to be addressed between the city and the county, and I think it's time for us to have that discussion. So,
Sooner than later.
well, I guess had this not taken place, it
Yeah.
probably would be, at this point in time, I would tell you, it would probably be denied, but being you're caught in the middle of this, it isn't right. And I don't know how you feel about it, Dirk, I know it's not our point to go over your head, but I understand that we're kind of caught in between a situation between the city, the people want to build a home, and we as a commission that basically didn't know anything about this until a week ago, or heard bits and pieces of it, which I think it's hard for us to be a commissioner when we don't have information that people are asking me about out there. So with that, I would ask, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. You have your approach.
And I think you should set a date or time.
Are you approving the approach
The first
or authorizing
January.
Dirk to sign the plat?
Or Doug could sign it if,
Whatever we need.
since you can't force Dirk to sign anything. I'd
Yeah,
have
maybe
Doug-
Doug should sign it. That could be part of Tom's motion.
Would that be legal if he signed off on it?
You're the county highway authority.
Okay.
Well, Dirk's the superintendent.
Yeah, if you're fine, I would be
Just
right.
think you only have maybe 2 weeks.
And Scott, would you take the lead in setting us a meeting with the city? I would like a definite answer to whether or not we've ever relinquished our jurisdiction by resolution. If we haven't, we need to get start getting at the table.
Well, and just
So
so
that
you
we-
know, Rachel, the county's gone through all of the old documents back in 1965, and it has come up in 1975, and it was denied by the county, so we've never relinquished it.
Okay.
As far as in any minutes that I've...
We need to be at the table then from now on. And
Right from the
whether
beginning, not
we set
after
up
the
a,
fact.
I know it's gonna be a little more work, but it's worth having representation on there, because we're getting so many calls from folks in that 3 mile zone, it's just not right.
Quite a few.
And thank you, Ron, for bringing this to our attention, and we'll work with you guys on getting that figured out.
And good luck.
Good luck.
Sorry about all the problems.
So we're free to go?
Yes, you're
There you go.
good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your time.
We try, but we run into these problems more often than not.
Ryan, I don't know if you have the class.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, have a good time.
I need a 2-minute break before we go to the next spot.
Okay, we'll take a 2-minute.
You betcha, how you doing?
Good. Thanks, Kevin.
Needed to do that. I could get a cot.
Our recess break is over. Next item on the agenda, we have Dirk Rogers, Highway Superintendent, discuss equipment and personnel.
It just keeps getting better.
You had a full day today.
You again.
And
the
election.
Okay, equipment. Just a quick
Maybe
back,
behind on...
little background here. We've submitted my budget for 2019 in whatever, May of last year. And a lot of things changed since then. Now, this conversation isn't more money or anything like that. I'm just giving you a heads up. And Maxine, you're not even gonna be here when any of this equipment shows up.
So live with it, right?
So I'm laying my groundwork, and the reason that I'm saying that is because back in May, there's I think I got about $300,000 in for equipment this year, okay? What I'm gonna talk to you about today is gonna be about $700,000.
Oh, 5 more.
Well, and again, I'm not asking for more money. The other thing that happened in there with the Richmond project not getting absolutely complete, and I've said before, if you look at the map, we're gonna be doing more bridges and less road work next year. There's also part of that conversation that's gonna roll into the personnel and everything here. But next year, our department's gonna be temporarily a little bit smaller for a while, and I'll get into that later. It just has to do with the workload and people turnover and all that. It's no problem. So
you're not voluntarily laying anybody off? It's just...
Oh, no.
Okay.
No. Voluntarily laying anybody
Not
off.
like a
I like how that's worded.
Walmart.
No, it's attrition stuff. It's just attrition and inventory attrition. Okay, so the first thing is we'll talk about the most expensive thing, which is the paver. Okay, I would like to purchase a paver off of the Joint Powers Agreement, which has a different name now. And I will get all the paperwork and everything to Maxine. It would be, my recommendations for a Caterpillar paver. The last one we bought was 1990. We paved up there this year, coming south of the water plant. We did everything I know of to do to make that be a good road, address the base, work the heck out of the base, and then sat the paver down on it. And I'm disappointed with the ride in that. And I can't come up with anything else except that the automatic, and this isn't my BS, this is what I truly believe, all right? The thing that controls your automatic grade control on the paver is just worn out. It's 1990, it's 28 years old, the technology is 28 years old. You can't update that for that paver and blah, 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 blah. So it's time, it's been 28 years. I think we did pretty good with that Caterpillar
Got a
paver.
use?
What's that?
We got our use.
I think we
Yeah.
did. So I would like to purchase a new Cat paver. It is not the cheapest. It is about, well, here's the price. It's $474,217 for the new paver.
Which budget year are you talking here?
This next one, 2019.
19.
Yeah. This won't even be delivered until like June or July.
Okay.
It's quite a lead time on it. The
474 what?
474,217.
How's that gonna affect us, not the fact that we have to put this out on bids and accept the low bid, or is this
This is
specs
off,
that you
It's
are
off the bid.
requiring?
I don't,
The specs, does this meet all specs that you're
Yeah.
looking for? Is there something particular about this, why you're this unit, you're singling this unit out?
this is the smallest, the reason that I've selected this model, it's the smallest mainline paver. There's two classes of pavers. There's sort of a, for lack of a better way of putting it, there's a small one and there's a big one. And, you know, the big one's for mainline, it's what you see a contractor using, it's what we've had. This particular model is actually 2 model sizes smaller than the one we have right now. I gotta be quite honest, if you're gonna buy the equivalent of our 1990 paver today, we couldn't afford it. I wouldn't be brave enough to come ask you to buy one of those, because it was quite a Cadillac in the day. This is about $34,000 more than the RDO product would be. Now, I get it, it's $34,000, but if we keep it for 29 years, again, it's about $1,000 a year difference. There's 2 of these already, these 2 identical pavers to this one are already in service because Turner County bought one in 18 and Hutchinson County bought one in 17. So they have technicians that are at least familiar with the machine, and this would be the 3rd county-owned machine that's in service from Butler. So all those factors are, you know, kind of where I landed on it. So I would like a recommendation or a motion, whatever it is we're supposed to do. What's the name of that, Max? Do you know what the name of the...
I can't think of it right now.
It was it's the NJPA, but it's got like Sourcewell, I think, the new name.
Sourcewell, yeah,
Sourcewell.
Sourcewell, yeah.
And it's the national bid. I believe the last loader that the landfill bought,
Yeah.
you used this to
And we can
purchase
buy
it.
right off that without putting out.
Right, it's just like the Minnesota State bid. You start with your base model, and then each specific option has been bid so that you build your machine.
It's really helped over the, on bidding, hasn't it?
Oh, huge.
Stuff.
Yeah. No, but,
Buying off other bids and that kind of stuff.
And it depends on, you know, I know there's some commissions that are still, we want to bid it, we want to guarantee that we're getting the absolute lowest thing for us, but
Because he needs to.
geez, you know, if we sit in here and start spending an hour per minute, or per meeting for 3 meetings talking to vendors, and you go through that whole process, and then somebody's always mad anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
And you've been saying we've needed one, I don't know how many
Well,
times I've heard that.
yeah, and the reason that it finally shocked me is because guess what our old one's worth?
What?
About $6,000. I just about couldn't hardly believe
Did I
it.
bid on that?
Yeah, well, actually, we
My
may,
driveway.
I'm gonna keep the old one because we may do some cold mix paving, which that's a whole nother topic for another day, but when you do that, it's very abrasive on your paver. So I want to keep the old one in case, that might be something I'm gonna try East of Hecla someday.
For that
We'll-
kind of money, you know.
It's just not really worth it. So, that's my
I move that
paver
we
source.
let him buy it.
I'll second it.
Moved by Hanson, second by Sutton to authorize the ordering of a cat paver.
Well, 2 years ago, we bought a Miller, so
Yep.
we're due to buy a paver
Yep.
to make up for it, so I think it makes sense.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
You gotta redo what you undo.
That's right.
Would have been milling up my roads now, huh?
As soon as you get off,
Hey, you won't be a person of
look out
influence
south of
anymore.
Front County.
That's what I mean.
I don't know, by the looks of the attendance at the 5-year plan meeting, they were all from Stratford anyway, so I think they should be okay down there.
They watch us pretty close.
Yep.
All right, we have personnel, is that all covered in everything else, or,
Personnel?
well, you
Yeah.
got personnel here, is that on to the next topic?
No.
We already did that.
We're not there yet.
Oh.
We're not,
Oh.
oh no.
More equipment,
You guys
more
want-
equipment.
You guys might want another 2-minute break before we get done here.
Just scratch the surface.
The next thing I'd like to recommend is purchasing a 2019 tandem cab and chassis truck, a plow truck, basically. This one, I wasn't super planning on getting this year either, but last year at the surplus sale, we got rid of 2 semis. And right now, as we sit here, we have 2 that I said park them before they don't run, that I intend to surplus in the spring. and we also have a tandem I'm going to surplus in the spring. So if we get this one tandem, we're going to put on what's called the Kubota system, so you can switch from a fifth wheel plate to a dump body to a sander, and it's sort of a Swiss Army knife thing. So I'm going to start transitioning all of our stuff when we buy these tandems. They're going to be full automatics, and they're going to have the Kubota system on the back, so you can use it as either a semi or a tandem. And it's gonna, here for a couple of times, I should be able to reduce the number of semis we have, full-blown semis, because we're only gonna need 4 or 5 that are total, you know, with the big motors and things for hauling the trains. We can use something like our plow truck with a fifth wheel plate on it to pull the lie bottoms around the county and for just doing our day-to-day cycling work. So this is gonna replace 2 things, a plow truck and one of our semis. So it's actually a mutation of the last truck we bought, because like you guys were just saying about the bidding, the specs that we wrote in 2014 for that tandem truck have just continuously evolved, and this is actually just the latest evolution of that same spec, because they just take our spec, update it, and reissue it. So it's basically just today's version of the last truck we bought, and it's $117,500. I don't have a quote with me for the box and the Kubota system, but you know, it's been around $30,000, and that's something that's under the bid limit, and that we can usually have done locally. So I would like a motion to purchase that truck off the Marshall County bid. It's a Mack.
This is 18 or 19 budget?
19.
Okay.
I'll move it.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Kepley to purchase a truck for the 2019, $117,000 and change.
$117,500.
$117,500.
And whose bid was it?
It's Marshall County's. I got the packet, Max. I'll get all this stuff to you here in the next couple days.
That's
I gotta go back to the office and regroup after the meeting.
No, that's
All in
fine.
favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And then, one more item is a 1-ton dually crew cab pickup. Cabin chassis preferably is what we would like. The last one we got was 2003. We've been getting along with hand-me-downs from the Weed guys over the last couple years, but we've run through those now. We have 1-tonner flatbed that we use. We have 2 that are welding trucks. You know, one of them is a Weed hand-me-down that's got like 280,000 miles on it. This particular truck would become our main culvert and bridge truck. It has a welder on it and generators and all that kind of stuff, winches and stuff like that.
Which is it?
Make sure I get the right vowel in there. So this would replace our current one of those. The current one that's serving this purpose with about 220,000 on it will go to pulling a roller for the patch crew. And I think we got one we've been running one, we've been pouring transmission fluid through that one just to keep it going until we got to the next of the year here, so we can cycle these down. Now, there's 2 things on the state bid, which I might remind you, we've gotten our pickups eventually, but we've kind of struggled a little bit with delivery off the state bid. There's 2 things on there. They have ton pickups, you know, with a box on it, a crew cab dually ton pickup with a box, and there's not a box delete option. Usually there is. And then they have like an F550, which is like a 19,000 curb weight type pickup that is a cabin chassis. There's about a $10,000, $11,000 difference in those 2 things. Neither one of what's offered on the state bid right now is kind of exactly what we're looking for. We're looking for something kind of in between, so I'm going to have Mark Wentz going to go around and talk to the local guys to see if there's 18s that are sitting on the lot that we can maybe get a decent deal on. So I'm going to have him talk to the local guys, and then we'll check whatever quote we can get against this.
Go on to Auto Trader, some of those sites.
Okay. And see what comes up?
Yeah.
Okay. If I can find something that's kind of close to the state bid, then...
And you can get it now.
Right. And then, well, that's the other thing, is on the 2nd of January, we could go get it, you know. So,
So your flatbed that you're currently on, the old truck, moved over to the new truck, or you ordered a new flatbed too, or?
The one that's on the truck is gonna stay on there. We'll have to add a water tank because it pulls a roller.
Okay.
And we had this conversation, and then we went out and looked at the one we salvaged off the last one, and I would rather just get a new one. But that'll be a separate item to this. None of this is gonna go over the bid limit. What I'll do is come back after we get some prices from what the local wants, and I'll say, all right, here's this, here's this, here's this, and here's the state bid, and give you a recommendation at that time. Is that cool? All right. All right, now I need an exec for personnel, I guess.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Hance, to go into personnel for highway department. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll go through your list of things.
All right, minutes from November 27, General.
Second.
Moved by Kifley, second by Sutton. Approve the minutes from November 27th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, this is my spreadsheet for the payroll for number 23 and 24. Those are the two payrolls in November. I'm 5 cents off on 24, but I'm not even going to look for it because it'd take more time to find it.
5 cents total?
5 cents, yeah. But it's there.
It's in fractions.
Yeah.
No, it's there. It's not fractions, it's something I've got keyed in wrong, but to go through it for 5 cents, it isn't worth it. It's not. And Patty brought these over this morning. These are the matches for 23 and 24. The next step will be, I'm working on the next step, because we have to enter these lump sum in each budget, but they have to be entered. The net, I don't have the net on one spreadsheet yet by department. The net will have to be entered on one line as offset with cash, and the rest of the benefits, not the benefits, the deductions the employees pay will have to be coded to each holding account in order for us to do the ACHs for the payments. I just started that spreadsheet this morning. It's going to take me a while.
So does not RAM have a spreadsheet that already has that all broken out?
It's broken out, but it's not lump summed by department, by...
My understanding is they have one that has by departmentalized.
Yeah, it's departmental, but it doesn't have... Okay, this is the department one, but with their, when they add all of the health insurances together for all departments, the Blue Cross for all departments, it isn't by department, it's lump sum of how much the employees contribute and how much the county contributes. So without the interface, we'll have to do those all manually until they get the interface done. Is there any, do we know where we're at with the interface?
So you want, when you say interface...
So that RAM can be downloaded into the accounting system. Because you've shut off the payroll in Encode that used to interface with the accounting.
And I guess that's the next step into finishing this up, is doing the interface. Basically what happens, my understanding is RAM would create a file that would show that, and it would just be put into our general ledger. the file they would create, such as this, it would automatically go into Encode.
Right, that's the interface.
Right, and that's where the problem's kind of held up, because we're told that none of these numbers work. Now, has the last payroll been fairly decent as far as what?
Okay, I had corrections from payroll 21 and 22. That I didn't have, I finished up with October the night before I left on the night before Thanksgiving. These are the sundial, that's a moot point. I mean, it'd be nice if the sundial punches hit the correct department, but I've given up on that. I'll just do it manually. That's what all these changes are here. Shift this, shift that, shift. But these are the ones that this vacation and sick leave for Carrie Steiner still has not been corrected. For these two salary shortages from payroll 21 have not been corrected. Payroll 22, these shortages have not been corrected. And
When you say have not been corrected, now this is what...
okay, but in defense of Gary and Patty, I didn't have, well, I had them put together, and I think I put a copy of this in your box, but they didn't get forwarded to RAM in time to hit yesterday's payroll. And it,
So let me ask you,
Okay.
has it been cleaner the last payroll as far as what we're anticipating? Is there, I mean, the errors wise, I realize when you do the one or two, there was probably some, and a lot of that was information that we sent to RAM. It was our error not getting the right information to them.
right. I can't tell that because I'm not checking like that the correct withholding is. I brought up a couple of employees that I knew that, okay, on their W-4, they put down single with one deduction. Somehow, RAM is doing single with 0 deductions. And I have no way of going through that because that's in the sundial system. I brought up 2 particular names, and then all I'm doing is comparing the sundial wage and the RAM gross wage. And then that's where I'm finding these differences. Like this one, I don't know why this gal was, her RAM check was short $66.74 from what Sundial said it should be. And then the new ones, this is payrolls 21 and 22. The payroll 23, other than the sundial shifts I have to make to get it in the right department, and the carryover shortages, there were no new shortages. But in payroll 24, there are new shortages. One person was shorted $635.31, another gentleman 71 cents. And it's kind of a nightmare tracking these, and the errors that were made on 21 that were corrected in 22, those are on my other spreadsheet and they zeroed themselves out. But from 21's corrections were all made except these 3. 22 corrections have not been made at all. And 23 didn't have any, and 24...
So is this something that Patty's sending over to RAM to get these corrections?
I assume so. I gave it to them Wednesday
Okay.
before Thanksgiving. And with this nickel, I'm just going by Ram's numbers. I'm just assuming it's pennies I missed in comparing Sundial to Ram. But I'm not gonna take the time to go through it.
Well, and I think the key is the information that Ram's using has to be critical that it comes out of Sundial to them properly. I mean, if they got the same information out of Sundial as you do on Encode, the two would probably match perfectly.
Well, see, Encode, I'm not even comparing Encode anymore.
No, I realize that.
Sundial and Ram is what I'm
But my
comparing.
point is,
And they don't match.
well, if Sundial was entered into Encode wrong, or if it's entered in RAM wrong, it's wrong no matter where you're at, so the balances are never going to be the right.
Right,
That's the
but
critical part, is
leave
getting...
Encode out of it now because November is not entered into Encode. That's why I have to manually put these in
Well,
the
and we can
liability.
interface that, but our intent with the interface is we don't want to put a bunch of bad numbers in. That's why,
Right.
and these 20 cents and these 5 cents, I can live with that, but
The employees can't. They're shorted that money.
well, what happens if they're long that money?
We correct it.
Well, and I guess that would be the question to find out if we're, 20 cents. Was that a Sundial error that was sent to RAM?
Yes. Or it's a RAM, okay, like the sick leave vacation, that's a RAM error. And this new one, the $600 one, is a RAM error. Because whenever anybody is paid out of their vacation and sick leave, it's treated differently in county government because you don't deduct, I don't understand.
You're right.
Yeah, and RAM doesn't recognize that. We haven't done any, I need to remind the weed board and planning and zoning that they need to put their meeting of their board meeting numbers in Sundial, so it'll get paid this next payroll, because that's the last one of the year. And the miles, personal miles driven, we'll need September, October, November, and December. But RAM doesn't have a way to do that, as the last time I heard. And the meal reimbursements, the $11 for lunches, and et cetera. As last I heard, RAM doesn't have a way to take care of those, to tax on it without paying them.
So we'll have to ask them those questions then.
And it's, okay, next week, there's no way I can have November balanced by next week. And without having it balanced, I can't put it in the accounting, so there's no way we'll have our November figures to finalize to close November to even start on the December accounting. I'm not sure when we'll have the year rolled over, probably after I leave, unless that interface can be done.
Well, I don't think there's any problem doing the interface.
Then why isn't it done? That should have been the first step in the process.
It's gonna take some time to program that. It doesn't happen overnight, but...
I mean, I can do it manually, it's just that
Why?
I don't have
Shouldn't
enough
have
time.
to.
And my nephew graduates from Blackfield State Saturday morning. I'm not going to be here tomorrow. I'll come back Saturday so I can work Sunday, but there's no way I can get it done in one day. And I've got other stuff I need to be doing. I'd like to start the preliminary for the financial report, but I can't because we can't balance November until I get these numbers done. The other people out here, they're swamped with their own work. Sarah's doing taxes. We have to get those tax notices done by the end of December so that we're not hit with that nickel increase in postage. We've got the work comp and the liability member dues. That's due January 1. Sarah's been working on that. I don't know where they are with the work comp form. That's Gary's. We haven't even started the fixed assets and the inventories. That doesn't have to be part of the financial report anymore, but it still has to be done. And there's just no time. And with the holidays coming up, and yeah, so I can't say when November will be balanced, let alone December,
Sure.
without the interface.
I'm a little worried when you just mention all that stuff about the transition. I hope Kathy can make it in and see some of the stuff, because that's going to be a rough transition if we can't.
If we can't, I told her when she stopped the other day that I'd have as much of it. That's when we were still entering into Encode, so that all I had to do was get the numbers from Encode to match RAM. But now, without entering it into Encode, I have to do all these numbers by scratch. And it's doable, but it just takes time.
Do we have a time frame on the interface?
Well, and I guess, Gary, can we find out how long it takes to get that interface up?
Direction first.
Huh?
We gotta have a direction first. If that's the direction we're going, then I'm sure they can get started on
Is that IT? That was part of the plan though for a couple of months, right? When we talked about going here and we
it.
realized
No,
we
that's
they've
not
been waiting
been
for direction.
formally decided.
Who's
No.
been waiting for direction?
And you just
Huh?
asked for the
Decision
quotes
having to
of
be
what it
made.
was gonna cost again just a week or two ago, so.
And he got those?
Yeah, you got a number from
Do you know what it was?
2,600,
yeah,
2,643 or whatever.
That's the quote that would enable us to do it?
Right,
What was the quote?
$2,600.
just for
And who was gonna do it?
Encode costs, and then
Apparently that's like a
obviously we'd have
license to do it.
Yeah.
It's not actually doing it. Just
no,
enabling
just
us
enabling to
to
do it.
interface ours with theirs.
And then Paul would still have to create the forms to get the
So let me ask you this, and I'm not an IT person, but if RAM creates a file, and that file is in the format of just, say, our general ledger, can that just not be downloaded into that?
I don't know what your,
I think we're making this harder than we have to. I believe that they can
download
create
it,
a file.
well, I'm sure that Tyler Technology has some kind of, rules or that on dumping programs into theirs.
We wouldn't be dumping a program, it'd be like taking this file and just incorporating it into this system.
And I'm not a programmer, so I don't know how
And
to
that's
do
where
that.
I'm a little lack on that, but I think we're looking to make this too hard. I believe there's a file that can just be created, and that file can just be downloaded into Encode, but it's gotta have somewhere to go in Encode, like the setup is all I'm looking for.
They have to have the
And that's
codes in
the
order
interface.
to do it.
Should we call them and ask if it's gonna be like months or if it's gonna be weeks?
Who are you gonna ask when I
Is Paul
talk?
the one doing it?
Yeah, Paul would be the one that
I
would
mean,
have
that's
to.
important to know if it's
Right.
gonna be a 6-month process or is it gonna be a 2-week process? I don't know.
We're still in meeting here.
Yeah.
I have to leave. So. Okay, all right, sorry, I got sidetracked. Anyway, I need a motion to approve the claims and these 2 payrolls and these 2 sheets from Patty with the match on them.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Kipley to approve the claims and the 2 payrolls with the matches on them. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
HR report.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Ansel to approve the HR report. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Highway 12 liquor didn't have all their information to us by the time we approved the other renewals, so there needs to be a motion to approve that renewal.
Second.
Moved by Kipley, second by Sutton to authorize the Highway 12
Do they have
liquor
to pay
license
the fee?
renewal.
They have to pay the fee again?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, operating transfer, this is part of the 18 budget, an additional 500,000 from general to highway. There's 700 sitting there, but if he doesn't need it, that last meeting of the year, we'll see how much he needs. Because I'm not sure what to do with budget supplements. Because, like I said earlier, next week is the last day to advertise it.
Are you gonna need the payroll done in order to do that?
Yepper,
That's what I thought.
because there's no way
And
to
if you're not gonna
balance
get your
November.
payroll done, how are you gonna do the supplements on time?
I don't know.
Just a question.
Just a question, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've been working nights and weekends.
And I'm not doubting that, I'm just saying, I don't know
Yeah,
how
it
that doesn't...
There's a lot to it when you're doing all of it manually. So, need a motion for operating transfer?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Sutton, second by Hanson to approve operating transfer.
Okay, there's the alcohol use.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
There's alcohol use permission form for Aberdeen Hockey to,
For the curling thing?
for the curling. I had them cross off and initial last night's date because you didn't meet until today.
Okay, move it.
Second.
Moved by Hanson, second by Sutton to authorize the alcohol use permission for Aberdeen Hockey Association. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Attorney fee agreement with Vic Fishback.
Move.
Second.
Moved by Hanson, second by Kifley to authorize Vic Fishback attorney fee agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, that's all I have.
Is there some of this stuff from the public lines?
Well, that was just your informational report.
Okay.
Okay. Gary,
No, I'm good, thanks.
anything else? Nothing?
Paul's at the other office right now. Do you want to call him and ask what the time frame would be for that?
I don't have the number. Is that?
I got it,
is
right
that-
here.
Same number.
Okay.
I'll call him right here.
I was gonna say, pick up that phone too.
Because I just don't want.
It's 175, I think.
If it's something we needed to authorize and we missed it, I just don't want us dragging our feet if there's something we can. Hey, Paul, we're in commission in, open session still, and we were just having a conversation about, payroll. Now, the whole interface process, is that something that's gonna take like 6 months, or like 2 weeks, or what is our time frame if we go forward with that?
Are you talking the interface from RAM to Encode?
Right on.
Okay, once we get RAM the correct data, so we know everything's correct between the two, between us and RAM, then it's a matter of creating a file and running with Encode. It'll take less than a month once we have the data correct. You know,
Okay.
because we'll obviously want to test it before we put live data into our GL in our journal. It won't take very long once we're past that point.
Okay, so just getting the correct data, and it's like you said, just a file that you upload.
Yeah, we would focus on making sure RAM has all the correct information from us so the payrolls are correct. Then it's a matter of, okay, we'll create the file, have Encode look at it, we'll do a test import, not applying it to anything. And once everyone's sure, the auditor and everyone's sure that it's not going to affect anything wrongly for them, we can go live after that. So it's just a file format, it's not a huge deal as long as we have correct file.
Okay.
And then what's the encode cost for?
On that, there is none unless we have to do something special. And that was $1,500.
2,600 almost.
That's if we go sundial Encode. Different setup.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it was if we don't meet their standard template, which shouldn't be a problem, then they'll have a $1,500 configuration fee. But I don't think it'll be a problem with us meeting their already built templates. we already have that built in. As we did this process, we built in all the in-code account numbers and everything, so that shouldn't be an issue at all.
So the correct information
Worst
was
case scenario is gonna be about $1,500. That's the worst scenario. Should be zero though.
So getting the correct information to RAM, where are we at with that before we can do this
Somebody should test
interface?
it down and verify that RAM has the correct deductions, the correct exemptions, the correct pay rates, all that stuff. I would say probably we're 95% correct, but we have a few that are not. And we just need to sort those down. That way, the paychecks are correct and everything is correct.
So then when that's all done, when RAM does our payroll, it should pretty much match without any discrepancies.
Exactly.
And once that happens, then we can interface.
Correct.
Okay, just get it done.
And we can also do the interface where we don't have to send RAM changes. We can go to the VPN and change them ourselves. But we got to get to ground zero first, and then so that'll eliminate that whole did we send the changes to RAM or not. We'll just do them just like we are now in code ourselves. We just got to walk before we can run. The thing, get to ground zero, and this will all be pretty smooth.
So what's our time frame to making sure our information's right?
Tell me who you want to do it. You want Gary to do it? You want us to help?
Keep in mind, the new rates for January have to be entered, starting December 16.
Okay, and that's, on our end, that's no big deal. On Sundial, that's increased by whatever, 25 cents an hour or 2%, whatever, and it does it across the board. And I'll have to check with Vicki to see how RAM does that.
Okay.
So you three have worked with this more than any of us. Seeing where we're at today and where we started at and where we're going, is it still, do you think, in our best interest to rock and roll, get this thing done, and it's gonna work? Or
I mean, it'll work as long as we provide the correct information. I mean, that's not a question at all.
do you think we're where we want to be?
And that's what we've said all along. I mean, we can work it out.
It would be where we wanted to be when you made the decision to go this way, yes, without a problem.
Are there things that are still, I mean, what's your thought? Are we making progress?
Yeah, I mean, we're just waiting on these little minor details. Once we get focused on getting the data correct, this will just flow like it should. No problem at all. That's been our holdup, is our error.
Tested before you went live.
So from here, where do we go? What's your deadline that you have to do for supplements and all that stuff?
Next week?
Is there any way to fast stream it? Because if we don't have the supplements, we can't guess that. We have to have the exact amount.
Well, what is supplement?
We have to do some budget supplements.
We don't know if we need to do budget supplements.
Okay.
Because I have no idea what, I mean, I can guesstimate it, but if I'm working on these spreadsheets, I don't really have time to go through budgets and guesstimate it, but...
I'm not understanding what supplements have to do with payroll.
How is their total budget? How's it looking? Like, when the payroll is added in, each department, who do we have to supplement and who do we not? Since I've been here, we've never had a new year where we didn't supplement somebody.
Okay. So are you looking for a report on on RAM's payroll, or what are you looking for? I would imagine.
I think Max's concern is just getting it as accurate as we can, as quickly as possible, so each department has a true look at what their budget looks like, and it isn't, you know, how much are we off, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if she can specify what she needs, we can put a report together before the week's out on payroll that's been paid since the first of the year. We already have the first 3 quarters of Encode. Gary and I did that last week already, so it's a matter of just having a year-to-date from RAM. That's not a problem at all.
No, the problem...
Have that done today.
Paul, the problem is,
I think we should
we,
talk
in
about
order
this.
to pay
I'll get with
the bills out of the accounting system, we have to put these numbers in the liability accounts. Because the way the accounting system works, in the individual departments, the 411 is the gross wage. And so
Right.
I need to determine, of that gross wage, net will hit cash, and the rest of it are the dental, the life, the
Okay.
state retirement. Those
You already
have to hit.
you already have all the reports on those deductions.
There, I've got a report here, it's the payroll benefit summary, but it doesn't add the department's individual delta, individual health, individual
The
life.
one I looked at had all the departments separated, the one Gary and I looked at did, from RAM. So the department totals for all the deductions.
The departments are there, but there's no consolidation
No,
of...
they sort of total at the end of each department, the amount for each department.
Well,
Each of these lines goes into a different holding account in the accounting system.
Well, because all we need to do is sit down and you tell me exactly what you want, we'll get you the data. That's not a problem at all. I mean, it's data in the database. It's just, what do you want me to extract, and we'll extract it.
Okay,
So-
so you guys wanna set up a meeting this afternoon?
So what more do you need than these totals? You need, I guess,
What I'm doing right now is, I started a worksheet where I'm taking, like, the treasurer's office, I'm pulling all their dental in one column, so I've got a total, and their Blue Cross Blue Shield, so I've got a total, their life, so I've got a total, and then whatever else they have. The deeper you get in, the more you run into the union dues and garnishments and things like that. Those all need to be in a separate liability account per department.
So you just need department totals for all the deductions and benefits.
So what?
You need a department total for every pay period for each deduction and benefit.
Right.
No. Okay.
Well, you can lump 23 and 24 together, and then we'll just enter November as one.
Okay, so you need it by month or you need it by pay period?
Do it by pay period, that way it's done and you don't have to redo your work
Then
later.
I have to add them together.
And if they can't add them together, I'll take time to add them together. But I
Yeah,
just,
I
that's
agree.
gotta get done.
Yeah, let's just drop the data in and we'll get the report. I can call and have her work on that now. I think she was already doing that anyway.
Sounds good.
Good.
So, yeah, just let me know what you need and we will get it to you ASAP so we can get this rolling forward.
Perfect, thanks for taking my call.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Alright, bye.
so then if that was able to do that in that report, you wouldn't have to sit and figure all that out then.
I'd have to prove it. How do you know it's right unless you prove it?
What are you gonna prove it against? And this sheet comes from RAM.
So you're
the same
proofing
inf-
RAM,
The
RAM.
same information
Well-
comes from RAM and you're proofing it against RAM, what are we,
Just so they've got all of these picked up.
well, I would say if this is gonna be in their program, all they're gonna do is extract this into a different format to get you a totals.
Right. Yeah, they've got their grand total here.
Right.
It's just not by department.
But once the department's done by that way, that
And then it
should,
should total this
Right.
amount. And
so
then
that would make it easier to enter all that information. Okay,
Easy peasy.
well, nothing's easy.
Nothing's that easy. All right.
Okay, anything else come before the commission?
I don't think so.
Move to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Moved by Sutton, second by Hans to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? They are adjourned.